Alvin Kamara leaves practice over a contract dispute. Long time. Saints running back Alvin Kamara wants a new deal. He wants an extension. He wants some more guaranteed money. And we are going to react and talk about it with DaBoot Tragedies. I talked about this topic on my live stream last Thursday. Hey, did you know I stream live on Thursdays on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube? If you didn't, now you do. And if you are interested in something like that, go check it out. We do live reactions from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with some voice messages thrown in there from the viewers with a lot of chat interaction. It's a good time. You should stop by. Now, if you want to see what I had to say in real time when this story broke during the stream, go check out that VOD. He left, went home, booted up, probably one of my YouTube videos or played a little Fortnite or whatever. We're going to talk about it here with my man, DaBoot Tragedies. So let's let him take it away, and then I will react like only I can do.
Last day of Saints minicamp, of course, we had to leave with some fireworks because it's not the Saints if it's not the Saints, man. Alvin Kamara, he leaves practice, at least mandatory minicamp at the end, over contract disputes. Dennis Allen said he didn't know the reasons, but, I mean, he's supposed to say that. So reports came out after that.
Yeah, Kamara's agent came out and said that it was a contract situation. And basically what you need to know is Alvin Kamara signed an extension, and he is in the last 2 years of that extension. All right. Now you might be wondering, well, if he has 2 years left, why does he want an extension? Why is there a contract dispute? Because the guaranteed money ends this year. So next year, Kamara is under contract, but there is no guaranteed money. And for a 29-year-old running back, no guaranteed money equals I'm not going to play. All right. No running back in the NFL will play for non-guaranteed money. The position is too volatile, especially at that age. So I don't blame him for wanting a new deal. And I think the Saints will restructure the deal and give him some kind of extension. They'll meet in the middle. Kamara is not going to get, like, if you're not part of the Saints news, if you're not paying attention, you may think, oh, he wants a new contract. He wants like a 5-year, $90 million deal. He wants like a tried and true extension. He wants all of that. I don't think that's the case. I think Alvin wants to retire in New Orleans. I think he likes it here. He's been vocal about wanting to be a lifer. I think he's basically saying, like, look, I just want my guaranteed money. Like, I just want to be playing for something. I want to take the volatility and the risk of getting injured out of this. So, and I think the Saints, especially if Alvin plays well this year, I think the Saints will be happy to oblige. I think they'll get a hometown discount. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he signs some 2-year, 3-year, $40 million deal with $35 million guaranteed. Somehow it's turned into cash bonuses and incentives and coupons to the merch shop and however else they do it to manipulate the cap. So I don't think this will be a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal, and I think it will get done.
That Alvin Kamara left because of contract disputes. This isn't any shocking revelation. This isn't like, why is he leaving practice? This mandatory minicamp, he showed up. He did his part. I mean, they're not really doing nothing for these 3-day minicamp. Anyway, so we'll talk about it though. We'll talk about it. He's leaving practice. Obviously, he wants a new deal. What that deal entails, we don't know yet. But obviously, this has to come off the the fact that CMC just got paid. CMC just got a big contract from the 49ers, and that's well deserving. He had a really, really good year. Led him to a Super Bowl appearance. Best running back in NFL. I held out hope for the longest, trying to say it with Alvin Kamara, but CMC has definitely took that over.
100%. Christian McCaffrey is by far the best running back in the NFL. I don't think you can argue McCaffrey's the best running back in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, and then there's a big gap, and then you can start the conversation with second.
And it's the last year of his deal. I'm not going to put it all on, the CMC thing, just because it's the last year of Alvin Kamara's deal. He's set to make $22.4 million next year. That's never going to happen because it's zero guaranteed. It's just the way his contract was set up. So he definitely needs a new deal. Actually, we can go pull that up.
That's a good point too, actually. So he's the biggest Saints cap hit, I believe. I think he's like an $18 million cap situation. So he is. So it also behooves the Saints to get it figured out, because we know how the Saints operate. The Saints let these deals, they backload the deals. They basically make the deals inoperable. Like they can't handle the deal. Like Michael Thomas's deal. Taysom Hill is a good example. When Taysom Hill signed his like $90 million deal, but $70 million of it was incentive based, if he played quarterback for a certain amount of snaps. Like, those deals are done like that, and they're propped up the way they're propped up to manipulate the cap. And then the Saints have no intention of seeing the deal out, and then they restructure it and change it. Derek Carr's deal has already been changed. So they do this all the time. Michael Thomas's deal, how many times did it get changed? At one point, he was going to make like $80 million in a season, right? And then they restructure it. Like, the Saints have been telling you for years now what they plan to do. So they like he said, Kamara is never going to see that contract next year. He's never going to see a $25 million per year deal, 0% guaranteed. Like, that's basically a fake contract. It's never ever going to happen, and it was never going to happen. So I don't think the Saints are surprised by this. I think it's one of those things where they probably wish it, like the Saints and Kamara probably wish it wouldn't be happening now. I'm sure Kamara wishes the deal would have already been done. You know how the Saints are with the contracts, though. Like, they don't have a lot of cash, so they got to move stuff around. We saw that yesterday. They restructured Taysom's deal again, so they're trying to free up some cash to make this happen.
At the moment, in a second. But let's pull up these running back contracts. From an Alvin Kamara sign, Christian McCaffrey just got a new one. So as you can see, Christian McCaffrey, $19 million a year. Alvin Kamara still sitting at the second highest paid running back when he signed $75 million deal, $15 million per year, had 34 guaranteed. Then you got Jonathan Taylor, who just got a contract, Saquon Barkley, who just moved to the Eagles, Josh Jacobs. All of these guys that are just signed, $12 million, $14 million. So maybe Alvin Kamara wants a contract in that ballpark. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that like McCaffrey's the top guy, and he should be the top guy. All the guys who did sign new deals, that is important because that does create a market. So DeAndre Swift, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, like all those guys, new teams, right? Every single one of them, right? Barkley new, Jacobs new, Mixon new, Henry new, Swift new, Pollard new, Jones new. That's wild. Yeah, Connor played for the Cardinals last year, so that's not new. But yeah, all of those are new. So you can look at all those deals and say, all right, Alvin should be getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 8 million, I would say, is where he's going to land. And then obviously, however much is guaranteed. I would guess it's somewhere in that neighborhood, which gets you to, so if he signs a 3-year, $36 million deal with $30 million of it guaranteed, that sounds about right. Like that sounds pretty close to what you'll see, and that would put him somewhere in this ballpark right here, right? So, like I said earlier, that's probably what he wants. That's probably what the Saints want to give him. Now they're just figuring out, okay, how do we draw up the contract where it still works with our contract, with our salary cap situation right now?
Maybe he wants CMC type of deal, but
he's not getting that.
He obviously wants a new deal, and I mean, obviously, that's last year's your deal. You're gonna want that. You're gonna want some security, especially being a running back, that's 29. Now let's talk about it a little bit.
All right.
What does he actually want? That's going to be a big deciding factor on, how the Saints maneuver, my opinion on it, because if he wants to be the highest paid running back in the NFL,
that's not going to happen. I don't think he, I'm saying that, I'm just guessing, but there's no way he can say, I deserve what Christian McCaffrey deserves. It's like, brother, I mean, we were here last year. Like, we saw what happened. 2 very different seasons. I mean, you look at someone like DeAndre Swift, because Alvin right now, is he better than DeAndre Swift? DeAndre Swift has probably been better the last couple of years. So I'm not saying Kamara can't be that good, but I just don't know if he has the leverage to be like, hey, I want to be the second highest paid running back in the NFL. I want to be the number 1 highest paid running back in the NFL. Does he have that kind of? I just don't think he's got that kind of leverage. I think if he said that, I love Alvin, one of my favorite Saints of all time. But if y'all hear the motorcycle situation outside Nitro Circus on a Saturday. But if he said, I want to be the highest paid running back of all time, I would say, okay, well, we're going to move on, because I know Tony Pollard just signed with the Titans, but let's pretend this was last offseason. And Kamara said, I want to get $20 million a year or $19 million a year. And then you say, okay, well, that's not going to happen. See you later. And then you go get Tony Pollard for this deal. And you look at what you can get a guy like Tony Pollard for. Like, they're running backs. I mean, y'all know how running backs are. Austin Eckler, look at him. Same age, way less. All right. So y'all know how running backs are. They come in, they go, you can rotate them. It's very volatile, it's very quick, 2-3 years, and then get a new group in there. So that's why I don't think there's a lot of leverage.
Like, do he wants to be on par with CMC? Does he just want more years on his deal because he's going into his last year of his deal? This might be his last one. He might want to, just a little extension.
Yeah,
he wants a 4-year deal, 5-year deal where he's going to be, under contract to 34, 35-ish. Like, it all depends on what Alvin Kamara wants. I don't know what he wants, so I just can't judge off that. But
there's no way he's in the league at 35.
I'll give some hypotheticals. If he wants to be the highest paid running back in the NFL,
see ya.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no way.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
If you want CMC money,
no.
Absolutely not. Hey, it's not my money to give, but that's just my opinion on what the Saints should do and how they should maneuver. $20 million a year, just absolutely not. Now, if you want Jonathan Taylor's money, Saquon Barkley money, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, those guys, absolutely.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. He should be in that. I'm not even sure if he's Jonathan Taylor money, but he should be somewhere in that 12 to 8 range. And if you go in the middle, high end of the range, and you go 10 million, and you give him a 3-year extension to get him through 32, that's probably his career. More than likely, that's certainly the twilight of his career if he's still playing at 33. But gets you through his career, gives him some guaranteed money, makes him comfortable and secure, makes him a Saints lifer more than likely. To me, that sounds like it works for everybody. Because again, it's kind of like the Derek Carr contract where, let's say you don't pay Alvin, but let's say he wants $10 million. All right, let's pretend like that. He wants $10 million, and then you don't pay him. Well, who are you going to get? All right, are you cool with Zach Moss? Are you cool with Jamal Williams? Are you cool with Antonio Gibson? Probably not. So if you want someone in that upper tier of the Tony Pollard, Swift, Henry, Mixon, Jacobs, Barkley, Taylor, that group, pay him. And Alvin has proven like he can be just as good as those guys. He can be a very valuable weapon. So I think he deserves the $10 million-ish amount. I don't see a problem with that.
Absolutely, I would give him a Josh Jacobs deal in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there you go.
48 total.
Yeah, same.
9 a year, 13 guaranteed. I would give him that deal in a heartbeat today, right now. Sign the paperwork.
Yeah.
Now if he wants that old Alvin Kamara contract or CMC contract, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know. Maybe he gets like a 1-year max, max contract, not really a max. Maybe he gets, the 1-year contract at the same price. I'll do that as well. It's things the Saints can do. Like,
I don't think the Saints would do that because the Saints, I don't think 1 year, like a 1-year big time deal would be good for their salary cap situation. I think putting more years on the contracts helps the Saints maneuver. So I don't think a 1-year deal would be possible. But yeah, I mean, I think the Saints are working towards that. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this got done in the next 2 weeks.
If he wants to continue to make this $15 million per year, $16 million per year,
that's a lot.
We can do it. But the years aren't going to be 3 years, 4 years. You just can't do that as the Saints. You can't just be paying a running back. I love Alvin Kamara. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. You can't be paying a running back at 33 years old. So if you want the same type of deal for maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, then I'm willing, to do that as well. I'm sure that the Saints are going back and forth with him on that. But
I wouldn't be willing. I wouldn't be willing if he said, I want $16 million a year. I want to be the second highest paid running back in the NFL for the next 3 years. It's like, my man, number one, I don't think you've performed like the second best running back in the NFL. Number two, you're 29. So if history is any indicator, you're already kind of past your prime as far as what we can expect from a running back. So I wouldn't give Derrick Henry $15 million a year. The Ravens certainly didn't. And Derrick Henry's 30 years old and wearing down, and it is what it is, right? So if Alvin was 26, sure, but he's not. He's 29. So I would not maintain the contract, and I wouldn't go higher than what he's currently being paid.
Let's look at these guys in the NFL. We got Christian McCaffrey. I don't know why this changed.
Sorted by name.
But we go to CMC. Let's pull up the CMC stats, man. Look at these numbers. You look at these numbers and you tell me if they're equivalent to Alvin Kamara. Look at this.
Yeah, they're not, obviously.
Almost 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. Obviously played for the 49ers. We can give him that.
Alvin's never even had over 1,000 yards in his career. Christian McCaffrey had 1,500 rushing yards last year with 14 touchdowns. Oh, and then he also tacked on, how many yards receiving? 600 yards receiving with 7 more touchdowns, should have been the MVP, or certainly had a real case for the MVP. I mean, he's in a different league than everyone else.
5.4 carry, but even when he was with the Panthers the year before, still averaging 4.6 yards a carry.
He's also 27. You know, he's also younger as well.
Carry, that's with the Panthers, and they were terrible. 4.7, 4.5. Then you go into the 2020s and, you know, pre-COVID. I don't really care about these numbers, but obviously, really, really good from Christian McCaffrey. You can look at his receptions. I mean, really, really good. You can't get CMC money. I don't care if you blame the offensive line, the offensive coordinator. You just haven't produced like CMC. Now you go to
DeAndre Swift.
Jonathan Taylor. His numbers playing for the Colts. Taylor's
a little different because Taylor is so much younger, but Taylor also is like, you could argue that he had one good year, but that's really it. You know, he had the 1,800 yards rushing, 18 touchdown year, but beyond that, it's like, you know, what really is there? So, you know, I know he's dealt with injuries and all that stuff, but he's a unique situation because he's young and because he had one enormous season. So I don't know if he's a great comparison
for the Colts. Averaging 4.4 yards a carry. You know, had 7 touchdowns. Didn't play a whole bunch of games because he was hurt, so only had 741 yards. But the issue is Jonathan Taylor, 741 yards, 4.4 a carry. You got Alvin Kamara, who played in 13 games. He still didn't rush for that many yards. You know? So the yards per carry just hasn't been up since he's been the last couple seasons.
You can't really look at that because the teams are different. Like the Colts had a great offensive line, different offense, different scheme. So obviously the yards per carry aren't going to be the same, or they're not going to be a great like indicator of you know, just the running backs. You can't compare. You know, if you put Alvin Kamara with the Colts, like I don't think he averages 3.9 yards carry, right? But if you look at his entire career and you say, okay, he's averaged for his career 4.4 yards a carry. Well, he averages somewhere in the neighborhood of 850 yards rushing, averages somewhere in the neighborhood of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he averages like eight touchdowns a year, somewhere in there. Like, that's not second best running back in the NFL numbers. If I told you Alvin Kamara was going to have 900 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns, that would be a really good year for his career standards. It'd be the third time in his career he rushed for double-digit touchdowns. It'd be, if I said 950, it'd be the most yards he's ever rushed for in his career. So it's kind of a career year, rushing-wise. I know 16 touchdowns is a lot, but it's way up there, right? And that's still not second best in the NFL. Now you factor in the receiving, sure, but you look at it the last couple of years, he hasn't gone over 500 yards. So if I told you he had 950 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, and let's say 500 yards receiving with 5 touchdowns, that probably is a career year, like in totality. It maximizes his receiving touchdowns. It's the most he's ever had. It would max almost besides his rookie year, but it'd be the most receiving yards he's had since 2020, most rushing yards of his career, and those numbers combined are not second best. They're in that group with the Saquon Barkleys and the Tony Pollards and that group, which is where he should be paid.
I talked about him in my last video. Players that needed to step up. Players that needed to step up this year, and Alvin Kamara was on that list.
Yeah.
On that list, averaging 3.9 yards per carry, 3.7 in 2021, 4.0 the season before. He just hasn't been Alvin Kamara. Like I said, it's a lot of things that may play a factor in that, but he just hasn't been that. So,
yeah.
Obviously, this is going to be a situation that everybody's going to monitor. Is Alvin Kamara, he wants a new deal. Obviously, that's big news. That's big news. And let's just pretend. Let's just take a shot in the dark, like the worst case of the worst case scenario happens, and let's just say Alvin Kamara, hey, he's done. He ain't playing for the Saints no more. He don't show up. They can't figure out a deal. He's not playing running back for the Saints this year. Let's kind of look at this depth chart.
That'd be really bad. But what would happen is Kendra Miller would be your starting running back, because with the way this offense is, they have to have a running back who can run routes. They have to have a running back who I think is a little more dynamic, can run around, can get in, mismatch with the linebacker. I don't think Jamal Williams is that guy. Jamal Williams is not the guy who's going to, match up with the linebacker in the slot and take him on a slant route or something. So I would think Kendra Miller would get the bulk share of snaps. They would really lean on Jamal for the plays where you need a running back to just pound it into the line. Jamal would get a lot of carries there, but Kendra would have to step up big time if Alvin walked. And let's say Alvin did walk, and let's say Kendra got plugged in there, and let's say Kendra delivered 850 yards rushing and 400 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns rushing and 2 touchdowns receiving. That's pretty damn close to the production we've seen from Alvin. So that's about what Kendra Miller would have to do to probably make it worth letting Alvin walk. If that is where it actually got to. I don't think it'll get to that, but like you said, we're doing a hypothetical here. If it did get to that hypothetical, Kendra would have to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1200-ish total yards, 10-ish total touchdowns, and I think the production would be close enough to where I don't think it would really matter.
You got Jamal Williams. You got Kendra Miller. And the buck stops there. Let's be honest. You have to go look for a running back, maybe trade for a running back, looking like free agency that's just not going to be there. Maybe Taysom Hill does it. Obviously, I don't see any scenario where Alvin Kamara not playing for the Saints this year. Now, if you're talking about next year, maybe there's a world that can happen in. Maybe.
Yeah, and honestly, like if that is where the conversation goes, if the conversation goes to Alvin saying, well, I want this, and this, or I'm not going to play next year, and the Saints say, okay, well, that's all right, see ya, then it might not be that big of a deal. If Kendra is good, then let him be the guy, and then draft a running back who fits the scheme. That probably wouldn't be that bad. So that's why I don't think there's a lot of leverage. Like, it's not one of those things where Alvin's banging on the table and the Saints have to do whatever they can do to keep him there. Running back's a different story. It's a very different story, because you can go find a running back to do what you want Alvin to do. You can go find that in the draft, and you don't have to pay them $20 million a year. You can pay them a rookie deal, and get the best years out of them for pretty cheap, which is why I've always said I don't think running backs should be franchise tagged out of their rookie deals. Because if you draft a running back, play them their rookie deal, franchise tag them, their prime is probably over. And then you could move on from them without them ever actually signing a deal. So I think running back is a weird position when it comes to contracts. We've seen that with the Le'Veon Bells of the past, where they're the best player in the NFL and they can't get a deal because they either play through their rookie deal and then they get tagged, and then they get tagged again, and then their career's over. We've seen it time and time again. Running back is way too volatile of a position. So I think Kamara knows that. I think the Saints know that. I don't think he's going to, quote unquote, hold out and truly threaten not playing. And if it does come to that, I would be very comfortable if Kendra Miller can deliver like I said, 1,200-ish total yards. If Kendra Miller can deliver that, I'd be very comfortable with the Saints moving forward, drafting a running back to fit the scheme, and then rolling with Kendra and that running back.
Maybe him and Jamal Williams won't return next year, and Kendra Miller maybe shows promise this year. Maybe he steps into that role. Maybe you'll draft a running back. You don't know. That's way far down the line. I think Alvin Kamara at least be with the Saints for the next 2 seasons, in my opinion, at least through Carr's contract. That's my opinion. I think they're going to try to keep all of this together.
But he will not be here next year unless the contract gets worked out, because next year he's not playing for 0% guaranteed money. I'm going to tell you that right now. So you can go ahead and eliminate the next year, because next year it doesn't actually exist. He is not playing for $20-something million, 0 guaranteed. So if he's here next year, it's only because a deal got worked out. And if a deal gets worked out, it's probably going to be for his career.
Together from Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, maybe Ryan Ramczyk if he can hold out, Cam Jordan, DeMario.
Ryan Ramczyk, I'll tell you what's happening with Ryan Ramczyk. He's not gonna play this year, but he's not gonna retire because it would hurt the Saints cap-wise. They can't have him retire. Next year, he can retire, and it won't hurt the Saints cap-wise, and he's going to retire next year. The Saints are giving him whatever it is, $4 million basically to not retire. So Ramczyk's done. I'll tell you that right now. Ramczyk's done unless something crazy happens, but he's done, and the Saints are he's doing the Saints a favor. The Saints are doing him a favor. He's going to hang out, sit on the sidelines, whatever he's got to do for a couple $1 million, and then the day after the contract, he can retire, and the contract doesn't affect the Saints as bad, he will retire.
Davis, Tyron, I think all of these guys, Lattimore, this big nucleus of guys they're going to have, they probably give it 2 more years. Maybe they give it 1 year and it's just super, super terrible this year, and they just say, you know what, fuck it, blow it all up. But I think they're going to try to keep that together for 2 years, especially if they can win 10 games, make the playoffs this season, try to add some pieces, things like that around those guys.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see.
That part's true. I agree with that 100%. I think that's the goal. The long goal is, okay, let's try and keep everyone together. Let's try and keep everyone here, see what we can do. If we're good this year, if we're in that 9-win, 10-win, and we're seeing progress offensively and we're seeing progress with everybody, we'll keep everyone together. We'll add pieces this year like Chase Young, like Talise Fuaga. We'll add some pieces, and then next year we'll add some more pieces, like Willie Gay was this year too. Next year, we'll add some more pieces where we need it. And then the hope is, and not this season, but the next season, we are legitimately competing. We are legitimately competing for an NFC title, for a Super Bowl spot, all that stuff. Like, that's the plan. And that is how the Saints have remained relevant. That's how they have done it for 20 years. The reason that the Saints haven't had a season worse than 7-9 since 2005 is because of this strategy. Because of how they do it. They keep that core together, and they say, look, keep things even, allow us to rebuild over a couple of years, bring some pieces in, and then we're hoping to find a year where everything clicks, and then boom, we can compete. And we can win 11, 12 games and try and make a run. And then we'll just reset everything. So, yeah, I think the Marshawn Lattimores of the world, the DeMario Davises of the world, the Alvin Kamaras of the world, the Derek Carrs of the world, like all those guys, they're holding on for the next couple of years, and this year is the first step of that. But he is right. If they do lose, if they do go 6-11, see you later. Then the experiment's over, and they'll start moving off people. They'll start getting off of big deals. They'll start restructuring contracts. They'll start planning for that next core, that next nucleus.
Very interesting to see. Like I said, this is not really, really big news just because, it's expected. This is the NFL. This is what happens. He wants a new deal. He left mandatory minicamp. Right. Hopefully they can get this figured out. And I'll be ready to talk about it as soon as they do. See what type of deal he gets from the Saints and see what type of deal the Saints are willing to give up. This is a big moment for Mickey, in my opinion. Big moment. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I can tell you one thing about the guys in the locker room in the NFL. You pay these outside guys like Derek Carr and whoever, blah, 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 and you don't pay the guys in-house, players tend not to like that.
Yeah, that's true. That part is true. I can go ahead and tell you this. Let's pretend like the Saints won. Let's say they win 10 games this year. I guarantee you next year, someone like Devontae Adams, if he's available, they're giving him a serious look. Because if we win 10 games this year, the thought is next year, like, damn, we're just going to add pieces to an already pretty solid roster. If they won 10 games last year, we're progressing pretty severely. They will go get someone like Devontae and say, okay, let's go try and win 12 games and be the 3 seed and win the Super Bowl. So a lot of pressure on this year. This year will dictate what the Saints, like how they are seeing the next couple of years. Because on the flip side, like I said, if they go 7-10, okay, well, we're not winning nothing, right? We don't have the right core. We don't have the right nucleus. So let's figure out the contracts. So that's the situation. That's where we're at. I think Kamara will play. This isn't huge news in the grand scheme of things. It's only huge because it's Alvin Kamara, and we are 80 days away from week 1. So we'll monitor what happens, but I don't think there's any legit danger of Kamara not playing.
I think it'll all get settled, all get resolved fairly soon. We'll see what happens. But thank y'all for tuning in once again. As always, this is DaBoot Tragedies. And I'm out.
Yeah, always go support his channel. DaBoot Tragedies is a good one, man. It's a good one. I like his stuff because he's not like a hot take guy. He's not a guy, he's not after further review. He's not, he's going to tell you what he thinks, and he's going to be honest with his analysis and his thoughts and his commentary. And I think as a fan and as a viewer, if you're looking for content, I think that's the best you can ask for. The best you can ask for is tell me straight. Like, tell me how you really feel. Don't do some hyperbolic production just to get clicks and views and whatever. So I know for me and for a lot of other people in the space, we're making these videos because we believe we're actually offering information that is good for the viewer. I'm not interested in playing a character or something that just to get views. So I think my channel, I think DaBoot Tragedies is another example of a channel that's very honest and very, very true with his analysis. And I think that's something to be commendable for. So the link to his video and his channel and all that stuff will be in the description. So if you're not familiar with this channel, go check it out. He's got good stuff over there, man. Great stuff. A lot of film breakdown. So good stuff. But let me know in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think. Will Alvin be playing elsewhere in a couple of years, or possibly next year? Do you want to see Alvin back? What would you pay him? What do you think his contract should be? Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.